Hi, my name's Neil. I'm one of the woodwind teachers here at Surrey Arts. In the next few clips, we're going to tell you all about the woodwind family of instruments. The word woodwind tells you two things about the instruments. One, you blow them, and two, they're made of wood. Although actually that's not true for all the instruments these days. Some of them, as you can see, are actually made of metal. Although some of them are still made from wood. You do blow them all still, though. And in the next few clips, you're going to find out about which instruments we've got, which ones are made of wood, and why the ones that aren't made of wood are still in the woodwind family. Hope you enjoy.
Hello, I'm Mrs. Charlesworth, and I'd like to tell you about this instrument here, which is an oboe. It looks a bit like a clarinet, but it's a bit smaller, and it's got a different kind of mouthpiece. It's got a double reed, which is two pieces of cane tied together. You can play the reed on its own. It makes a pretty horrendous noise. So that, if you want to annoy your little brother or your neighbours, is brilliant. If I put the reed in the top of the oboe, this will now work. Oboe can play all kinds of tunes. It can play little jazzy, happy tunes. This is a piece from Dance of the Scarecrows. And it's capable of playing some really expressive tunes as well. I'm sure a lot of you have seen some of the Harry Potter films, if not all of them. And there's a lovely tune called Hedwig's Theme, which sounds really nice when played on the oboe. And that reminds me of another tune which is from a ballet by Tchaikovsky, and this is called Swan Lake, and the oboe has a lovely solo in that one as well. This is Swan Lake. So there's the oboe.
Hi, I'm Neil. I'm one of the woodwind teachers at Surrey Arts, and I'm going to be talking to you about the flute. The flute's been around for thousands of years in different forms, and traditionally it would have been made from wood, although these days it's much more common to find flutes that are made from metal. Unlike most of the other members of the woodwind family, it doesn't have a reed or double reed to help make a sound. It has a hole, and we get the sound by blowing air across the hole. If you've ever got a sound out of a bottle by blowing across the top, it's exactly the same principle. Being one of the smaller members of the woodwind family, it tends to play the higher notes. And it's particularly good at playing slow and dreamy types of music. Well, the flute can play faster and more energetic music as well. And I'm going to finish by playing you a little extract from a piece of Irish folk music called the Irish Washerwoman.
I'm going to introduce you to the clarinet today. And this is the clarinet when it's been assembled, and it comes in different parts. So you can see here's another clarinet, which is there's one of the top parts, and you have to assemble it together, and then you put a reed onto the mouthpiece at the top, so a cane reed, and when you blow down the reed, you get notes. So the clarinet has a really big range. It can play really low notes, really high notes. It can play very quiet. But he can play very loud. I'm going to play two little snippets of music. I'm going to play a solo from an orchestral piece by Rachmaninoff, a Russian composer, and I'm going to play a jazzy piece by Leonard Bernstein from On the Town. There we go, the clarinet.
Hello, I'm Mrs. Charlesworth and I'd like to tell you about the bassoon family of instruments. We have here a tiny bassoon, or altoon, for tiny people to play. Its slightly bigger brother, the tenor-oon, and then we have the main man. We have the bassoon, or just bassoon, which is so big it hardly fits on your screen. So this is the bassoon, and this is much bigger than the other one, so it plays some really low, deep notes. So it's a very deep, mellow sound. Now, if you've seen the Disney film Fantasia, you might remember seeing Mickey Mouse as the Sorcerer's Apprentice, and the bassoon plays the tune to that part of the film. That's the Sorcerer's Apprentice. The bassoon, you can play any tune you like on this, and this is from a very famous film. I'm sure most of you have heard the music to Star Wars.
Hi, I'm Neil. I'm one of the Woodwind teachers at Surrey Arts, and I'm going to be talking to you about the saxophone. Unlike many instruments which evolved and developed over hundreds, possibly thousands of years, the saxophone was invented by one man, a man named Adolph Sax, which is why it's called the saxophone, in the 1840s. It has a reed and a mouthpiece, a bit like the clarinet, which you will see elsewhere on these videos, and it has a system of keys like all the other woodwind instruments. So even though it's made of metal, it is part of the woodwind family. It is found in classical music, but you're more likely to hear it in jazz and rock and pop music. Most people, when they start playing the saxophone, will play this size. It's called the alto saxophone. And the alto saxophone was responsible for one of the most famous riffs in rock and pop music, a tune called Baker Street, opened with the alto saxophone playing this. Another saxophone which gets used a lot is slightly bigger, called the tenor saxophone. And the tenor saxophone was used on a very famous tune, which I'm sure most of you have heard, which is in a more jazzy style, called the Pink Panther. So that is the saxophone.